And welcome back to the State Champs Power Play Podcast, the final Power Play podcast for the hockey season. It's presented by National Coney Island, and it's also brought to you by Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works. I'm Jonathan Kidd, along with Sean Belizean. I cannot believe it's over.
Yeah, when does the new season start, right? It's another fantastic season. Congratulations to the champs. Congratulations to everybody, but obviously to Brighton, to Heartland, and Detroit Country Day, winning Division 1, 2, and 3. Big-time props.
Tryouts start, November? I'm already thinking the November already.
Yeah, right. Guys will start hitting the ice, and, the season will start, mid-November, usually around the 17th, 18th and everything. So it'll be here before you know it. It's amazing, especially the older you get, how quickly the year flies by.
And right now it's players trying out for Team Michigan. What goes on now for the next few months?
Well, I think, you see some spring leagues and everything. There's Team Michigan. There are lots of opportunities. Obviously some of the guys that were in this year have an opportunity to move on, have gone on to, the NA, the North American Hockey League, and eventually continue their career, whether it be, NHL, USHL, D2, 3, 1, whatever the case may be. So, there are still a lot of moving parts. Hockey has become a 12-month sport. It really has been. It has been for a long time. I don't think that the average human being understands that. But, yeah, there are a lot of opportunities for, teams and players to grow before next season kicks off.
So let's recap the state finals from last weekend. Division 1, it's Brighton. They did it again. 4th state championship in the last 7 years. On my way here today, I was thinking about with Brighton, how everyone talked about CC this year. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, CC, including us. Did you feel like they had that chip on the shoulder, like we had something to prove? Because everyone else is talking about Catholic Central, and here we are, the defending Division I state champs.
Yeah. I don't know definitively, but they kind of laid in the weeds, and when the opportunity presented itself, there they were. I still contend. What CC did during the regular season, what they did in the playoff run, was absolutely incredible. But the beauty of the single elimination is when you get an effort like that from Brighton, it can knock anybody out. And what can you say? Paul and Kurt, that entire community, absolutely remarkable. And I want to say this, John. I think a lot of people thought that the championship game was just this foregone conclusion, and Saginaw Heritage is going to get mercied and all of that.
Yep.
Major props to Saginaw Heritage. And I think it's a testament to what J.J. Bamberger has done up there, because that team fought hard. That was a great fight by that team. In the end, obviously, too much Brighton, but a tip of the cap to Saginaw, because I think that was a great story. That was a legitimate team, a legitimate run, and a legitimate effort in the championship game.
And Brighton, 4th state championship in the last 7 years. I know we've had this discussion about the best public school program. I know Trenton has the most.
Historically, absolutely.
Historically, but still, in the last 12 years, since 2006, when Brighton has started their run, they have won 5.
I would hope if you are the biggest Trenton fan watching or listening right now, if you're the biggest,
Sean and Keith.
Hi, Sean and Keith, how are you guys doing? If you're the biggest Livonia Stevenson fan, if you're the biggest Northville fan, I would hope that everybody would agree with that. In the past decade, it's Brighton.
Yep.
Period. End of story. And what else can you say? I hate to do it, but I'm going to quote it one more time. Our buddy Craig Stiskowski, Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton. It's amazing. Really is.
In Division 2, they had the sweep there with Livingston County. 2 schools from Livingston County has won a state championship this year. Obviously, Brighton in Division 1. Heartland in Division 2. Seems like it was like every year they're there, but they just couldn't get over the top of the mountain. This year they finally did.
Came so close in 2013, came so close in 2014. I think they lost a semifinal game again to Stevenson in what 2015. And I'm going to tell you what, Rick Gadd was one of the good guys in the business as well. I think I speak for a lot of people, John, perhaps you included, when I say you're happy he finally got one, because he's one of those guys that he's done so much for the game. And he's one of those guys, trust me, I've probably reached out more to him in the last few years than I should. And he always gives me an honest answer. He always gives me an honest assessment. I'm really, really happy for them. I'm happy for Chad Clements. I know we had Coach Clements on before. That was a big run by Chad Clements. And, you want to talk about some teams that are going to be back next year. I mean, Trenton is going to be one to watch in Division II with all the returning players they have. Heartland has a bunch of guys back. That Brother Rice team, that's a team that's going to have a bunch of guys back. And Forest Hills NE, this is a team that's gotten to USA Hockey Arena. It's about taking a step. Their next step is let's find a way to get the job done and get that big win with it that maybe people didn't want us to get. But hey, I thought Division II all year, John, was the most intriguing because of the top heavy. You could pick one of a few teams, and I don't think the tournament let us down in that regard.
And back to Heartland, we covered that game against Northville in January, and I talked to Rick before that game, and he was not happy with the team at the time. They were on a little bit of a skid. After that Northville win, they got on a roll.
And it was one of those things. It was who they beat. Going out and beating the teams they did during that run. I think they beat Brighton a couple times. They beat Livonia Stevenson. As you mentioned,
Powers.
They beat Northville. They beat Powers. There were so many big wins in that. They beat Orchard Lake St. Mary's as well, and I really love the Eaglets this year. So, when push came to shove, and I think one of the biggest things you have to remember, too, is this is a team that, lost in a big way to Catholic Central right before the playoffs start. And you know what you do? You take that tape, you smash it into a million pieces, and you focus on the task at hand. And that they did in cruising to the title.
And finally, in Division III, Detroit Country Day, a team that you have talked about all year. It's before you got them ranked in the rankings, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, Country Day is somehow in the coaches' rankings now. Yeah. Sam Avola, talk about his performance. I know it's not all about him, but his performance throughout the season and the tournament.
Well, it's interesting, John, because until you see them, I don't think you understand what Coach Novak was talking about. It is Sam Avola. I think everybody has to acknowledge that Sam Avola is a big part of it. But they play so well in front of him. You watch back, especially if you had the eagle eye view, everybody pays strict attention to their zone. All five are coming back. They play so well in their own zone. Their transition game with opportunities the other way, that it was a total team effort. You can tell that was a team that bought in. And it's interesting, John, because, when you look at the divisions, we had Brighton number 4 overall in the state, number 3 in D1. They end up winning. We had Heartland number 7 overall, the second highest ranked team. They end up winning. We had Country Day at number 9 overall and the second highest Division 3. And I remember even when I came out with the last ranking, a few guys came up to me and said, do you think that DCD is ranked a little high? I think DCD answered that question.
Exactly. And Livonia Churchill, props to them. They went through a lot of stuff throughout the year. They lost a player to Honey Bake. They went through that skid, a 5-8-3 stretch, and then they got into the playoffs and got on a roll. Props to them.
I couldn't be happier for Jason Reynolds, a good Livonia guy, no doubt about that. I couldn't be happier for Jason and the job they did. The heroics against Allen Park, and then really shutting the door on Liggett, and that Gabriel Richard game was outstanding as well, and it was a great final. It really was. It was a great final, and Jason's doing a heck of a job there, and they're not going anywhere. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think the Chargers, if we're being fair, the Chargers the last couple of years had a darn good team in the Division II ranks that fell a little bit short, and a darn good team in the Division III ranks that fell a little bit short. The Chargers aren't going anywhere.
So that was our state finals recap, and when we come back, Sean, you sit down with a special guest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to talk to Cody Inglis next here on the podcast.
And it's presented by National Coney Island and is also brought to you by Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works.
Time starved? Budget starved? Just plain starved? Get to National Coney Island. Come in any time of the day for a great meal served the way you want it. Fast, fresh, friendly. At National Coney Island, you'll find some of the best specials in town. Something for every taste and appetite. All made with top quality ingredients, prepared to delicious perfection, and served up at a price that won't break the bank. Welcome to National Coney Island.
When you graduate from Northwestern Tech, heating and cooling companies take notice. And getting noticed is nice, but even better when it comes with respect.
With a demand for HVAC techs and the type of money you can make in this industry, skilled tradespeople are getting the respect that they deserve.
Hands-on training, experienced instructors, and thousands of Northwestern Tech graduates.
In just 10.5 months, you can have the career and the respect you deserve.
Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works.
And welcome back to the State Chance Power Play Podcast. It's presented by National Coney Island and brought to you by Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works. I'm Jonathan Kidd along with Sean Belegian. Sean, at the state finals on Saturday, you were able to talk to somebody.
Well, it was great to talk to Cody English because, there are a lot of things to talk to Cody about. Cody is a good man, and, there are a lot of, as you know, rumor, speculation, innuendo in the air. We had Coach Mark Vellucci from Novi on a few weeks ago to talk about, the change that is coming, the change that is rumored to be coming. So I had an opportunity to sit down with Cody English and ask him about the potential changes. Cody English, kind enough to join us. And first of all, Cody, is to see you running around here the past couple of days. I mean, what exactly is everything that you have to do? You're one of those guys, like at any point in time during the course of the day, you see you there. I guess, what does the job entail on a weekend like this?
Well, it's pretty much everything. As you noted, I truly enjoy just having a tournament come off and you being one of the only people that know it came off smoothly. And I think those are fun things. For me, that's my rush. Just like coaches and players have the rush of being on the ice, I enjoy a tournament being well run, and I think there's ways to do it. And I'm blessed with people that literally want to be here. They come up to me and say, this is my favorite weekend of the year. They come back year after year, and when I think you surround yourself with good people, they make you better, and that's what's happens this weekend.
We'll get to the games in just a second, but there had been some speculation the last couple of years that this tournament was going to move. I have it on very good authority that this tournament is not going to move. It's going to stay right here at USA Hockey Arena. What a great decision.
Yeah, we're blessed that USA Hockey Arena wants to have us here. They want to have us here. We just signed a 5-year deal with them, so we will continue to have the semifinals and finals right here in Plymouth. And just Mike Henry and his staff embrace us. They've bent over backwards for us, making sure that we have everything we need to make this the best high school tournament. And that's a blessing. It truly is. And I have said this to you, that when the governing body of your sport buys the arena that you play your hockey finals in, that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately is where we want to be here, and the enhancements they've made behind the scenes and out front with just the renovations has been spectacular.
Cody English joins us here on State Champs. Really appreciate his time. Just a banner tournament so far. I mean, what can you say about the schools, the fans? Trenton brought the band. I mean, the atmosphere here has been second to none. This is everything everybody could ask for.
Yeah. It's what we say that we want high school sports to be about. High school hockey, that we differentiate our product a little bit. The educational athletics, the school-based athletics. And that's what we want it to be, the atmosphere. I think it promotes our brand, it promotes our game, it promotes that high school hockey is a viable place to play for kids, and that's what we want.
It's at a good place right now. Obviously, there is, I guess, the winds of change in the air. We had Mark Vellucci on a few weeks ago, the head coach at Novi. He and the Coaches Association are working on some changes coming forward. What are you able to tell us right now? I know how the process works, and for the benefit of people out there that don't know, there are proposals. Those proposals have to be passed. Where are we at in regards to that right now?
We're at right now a proposal being passed by the Hockey Committee, and the Hockey Committee is made up of ADs and superintendents and coaches from around the state. They unanimously passed a seeding proposal that would seed at the beginning of the tournament as well as the end of the tournament. And then at that point, it goes to the Representative Council. Representative Council is basically the governing body of the MHSA, made up of ADs, superintendents, principals from around the state. They vote in May on that. That will determine next year's proposals that pass. So they're going to get feedback. They're in that feedback stage right now. The ADs meet up in Traverse City next week. They're going to really talk about it there a lot, how it impacts their own schools. And ultimately, it's a good step because the devil's in the details, right, of anything, and the unintended consequences that occur when anytime you put a plan out there. So that's what we're trying to figure out right now, and I think that kind of putting that magnifying glass on what a tournament would look like if it were seeded is what needs to be done right now. And you look at the computer enhancements with seeding and RPI and formulas like we do, for example, for football. Could that be done with hockey?
Yes.
And that's where we're at right now. How do we put those in bracket forms?
I love to hear you say that, because to me, one of the things, and maybe this is the amateuristic way of looking at it, and you can correct me, but I think to me, you are giving credit to the team that had a good regular season. That, the computers say they had a good regular season and everything. And it's no disrespect to other teams, but to me, shouldn't there be a reward for the team instead of picking out of a hat or tossing the coin, whatever the case may be? Shouldn't there be a reward for the team that had a regular season?
And I think that's what the Coach Association favors, absolutely. And I would tell you, I'm open to that, because I think that, what you said, rewarding the regular season means something to teams. The challenge of school-based athletics is how do you deal with things like travel? Geography still has to drive our sport. Absolutely. We're not going to have a Calumet come down and play Chelsea on a Tuesday night in a pre-regional or regional game, because their seeds tell us that. It's got to be cost-effective. It's got to be keeping kids in school for the most part. Those things have to come into play, and that's the dynamic. Sometimes it's a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't always fit. So we've got to make sure that we're doing it the right way and get feedback from all. And how does it impact? It's nice that it impacts the teams that are playing here in a positive way, but how does it impact the potential teams that are 148th in the state? Sure. And those, sometimes you have to make sure that you're representing the people that aren't in the room, and make sure that they have a voice, and make sure that they don't feel pushed out of the process. So that's what we're doing right now, making sure that it fits within our philosophy. Is it practical? Does it make sense to do for the MHSA? This isn't a new issue, as you know. This is something the Coach Association, high school hockey, has struggled with for many years. So the fact that the Coach Association has made this one of their big ticket items that they want to push has been a good thing. I think it's been a collaborative effort so far.
I love hearing that. One last thing before we let you go, and certainly I don't want to take away from this weekend, because this weekend is tremendous, but one of the things that I hear the coaches talk about, including some of the coaches that are playing here today, the chances of maybe adding 4 or 5 days to the tournament, to making it a 3-week tournament. I know this is a process. There are steps as you described, but is that something that at least is being kicked around?
Absolutely. In fact, I left the Coaches Association meeting this morning with that challenge to the group, is that this, as you know, we play 6 high-pressure, high-intensity games in this 2-week tournament. We at no other time in the season ask teams to do that. And now the most important time of the year, we ask you to play 6 high-intensity games. It's not always the best team that wins. It's sometimes the team that best survives. Sure. And I think that grind, teams that are here playing today see that. So how can we potentially lengthen our game, lengthen the tournament, without necessarily lengthening the season? Because that might impact our venues, that might impact other things. So we've got to make sure that we're smart in how we do it. We're not going to shorten the regular season in terms of games played, but maybe there's a way to shorten the regular season in terms of that last week of the season ending on a Wednesday, for example, and then playing the pre-regional or regional games starting on a Friday and Saturday. Then going the next week into the quarterfinals, then that weekend, and so you extend it, instead of 2 weeks as it is now, maybe it's 2.5 weeks. And so I think that makes sense and something to consider. I think seeding, very honestly, has taken a lot of people's time and energy. So that's where our focus has been. Probably best to not bite off too much right now, but next year I would tell you that's going to be a big topic on the table.
Hey, man, I know how busy you are. We're not going to keep you much longer, but I'd love to follow up with you in the fall. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, for the people out there, Cody runs around like a chicken with his head cut off, but you can tell he loves every second of it. I think you do at least.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. There's a lot worse places to be than rinks, right? With kids and playing and watching this great game.
Pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure. Cody English from the MHSAA on State Champs.
Thanks to Cody for joining the State Champs Power Play podcast on Saturday at the Hockey State Finals. Your thoughts on the interview?
Well, I think one of the things that jumped out to me is, Cody understands the process better than anybody. John, I hope, this is hope with a capital H. I hope that this goes through. Because if it doesn't go through, I think a lot of people are going to be let down. I think coaches are going to be let down. I think fans are going to be let down. And I think guys in the media are going to be let down. In my humble opinion, this is me speaking on my own, you can't keep promising people that something's going to change and then the check bounces. That's not a good business model. And I think in recent years, and I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, there's no good guy or bad guy here. But I think in recent years, some changes have been proposed and they've magically kind of withered on the vine, and some hopes, they were brought up and then they were dashed. You cannot continue to tell people that change is coming, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, whether it be seating, whether it be extending it to 3 weeks, and then a new season comes forth and none of those changes are implemented. If it keeps happening, I want to get to the bottom of it. And this is my pledge. Yep. I'm not going to stop until I can get to somebody, whether it be from the representative council, whether it be Jack Roberts himself, that can explain to me why this isn't happening. When a majority of coaches want it, when it makes sense, I'm not going to rest until that happens.
Yeah, and on Friday I was at the hockey semifinals there. I was watching the Brighton CC game with you. I was talking to a hockey official there, and his thoughts were if you have seating, you're going to take away the Cinderella. But I think people would rather have great hockey at USA Hockey Arena minus the Cinderella.
I agree with you. Whatever happened to earning your way there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whatever happened to earning your way there? Yeah. And you know what? If Cinderella deserves to be there, then by golly, we'd love to have her. Yeah. But I don't want to put Cinderella in a position that maybe she's not ready for. Mm. And I don't want to try to do it for the sake of trying to create a Cinderella. The beautiful thing about the whole Cinderella story thing, John, is this. Cinderella came out of nowhere. Yep. That's the beautiful thing about Cinderella. Yeah. She came out of nowhere. Yeah. So, you know what? If next year there's a team that's being overlooked, you know what? Cinderella will find her way there. If Cinderella's legitimate. Yep. If Cinderella's legitimate, she'll find her way there. It's a process. We were talking about Rick Gadwa earlier. Look, it was a process for him. Yep. It was. Got to take your lumps. You're going to lose this one on a heartbreak. You're going to lose that one on a heartbreak. I think Coach Bissett doing a good job there. The play on the west side continues to improve so much. I think, obviously Granville has led the way. I think Forest Hill Central, I think you can't forget about GRCC as well with Mike Slobodnik. And, you've had Holland West Ottawa jumping into the scene this year. Lowell Caledonia, you know what? Continue to get it going. Yeah. I mean, to me, those are great stories.
From what I gather from the interview, too, I know it was like, let's get the seeding done, maybe the longer tournament down the road. But I think get both of them out of the way.
I agree with you. If I had to pick one or the other, and I think a lot of the coaches that I talked to agreed with me, and this is just an opinion, I cannot for the life of me understand why we don't go to 3 weeks now.
No.
Why delay it? For what?
No.
What really? It's and if you think about it from a logistical standpoint, John, it's not difficult to do. No. It really isn't difficult to do. This is a grind on the kids. Yeah. This is And, you take a look at Trenton and that incredible run, but you have to play a game against Stevenson, and then you come back against another monster, and you have to win that game against Rice. Well, how much do they have left against Heartland?
6 games in 2 weeks.
Right? I'm sorry. I think that is...
You can do 6 games in 3 weeks.
That absolutely you can. I think it's asking a lot of kids. There's no reasons why you can't make it 3 weekends. There's no reason why, to me. I don't, for the life of me, understand why that is an issue. All one has to do is go like that.
Yep.
Really, it is that simple.
Yep.
For the 3-week thing, the seeding thing, I understand. Dot your I's, cross your T's. I think that's all been done before and it's overdue now. But for the 3-week thing, if we really do, care about these kids and the grind, go like that. It's over. It's 3 weeks. Cool. We're set.
Yeah, basketball's 3 weeks.
Don't get it.
This is our final episode of the State Chance Power Play podcast of this season. We're going to be back in November. Sean?
We're doing the whole season?
Yeah, whole season.
Awesome.
And Sean, what were your moments throughout the year?
CC was incredible to watch. I mean, the run that they went on late in the season was one that everybody was... Did you see how CC beat this team by that? Did you see that? That was incredible. Brighton going Brighton.
Yep.
It was just absolutely... I think the story of Detroit Country Day that started in December and ended with them hoisting the trophy was awesome. And, I'm sure, John, you heard the story. Coach Novak said that, they played so poorly against Liggett, and he basically said, it's something out of the movies, okay, you guys don't want to play 51 minutes? We'll play 51 minutes in practice. And he made them go. And they didn't lose after that. I mean, there's so many little things over the course of the season that, pop into mind. I think West Ottawa beating Granville. I saw Joe Brazil, who is one of the most wonderful human beings in the history of the planet as far as I'm concerned. He really is just a great guy. And he looked at me and he smiled. He goes, wasn't that great that West Ottawa won? It's bigger than Joel Brazil. It's bigger than Granville. So I think that's pretty cool. But all in all, you know what, John? The product continues to get better in the state, and that should make everybody happy.
This is it for the State Chance Power Play podcast. It's presented by National Coney Island and is also brought to you by Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works. Next week, we're going to be announcing our National Coney Island High School Player of the Year.
We're coming to your school.
We could be going to Heartland. We could be going to Livonia Stevenson, maybe CC. Who knows? Might be going to Trenton. We just don't know. We are still in the decision process of this. So you will stay tuned here. We'll have it on our social media and everything. So we'll know when we'll have the winner. So thanks again, Sean. As
always a pleasure, buddy.
And you're watching and listening to the State Chance Power Play podcast presented by National Coney Island and brought to you by Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works. We will see you guys in November.